Hello, welcome back to Metalhead Nation Garage. I'm Chris, your host. Hey, give us a thumbs up, like the station, the channel, and subscribe. Hey, we're talking about some rock news today. Van Halen in the news today. We'll start it out. We'll cover all three Van Halen personnel here. First off, it's David Lee Roth making the rounds. You know, he's premiering his new show, the podcast. But anyways, he was talking about Ed. You know, had some good things to say about Ed. You know, it was the best time of his life. You know, writing songs, being with Ed, and collaborating, and all the good stuff. So you know, kind of rare. You know, David would come out and state this. Probably too bad he didn't state it when Ed was alive, but nevertheless, you know, he even talked more. You know, and in recent months, he's been releasing you know, songs from the Van Halen catalog, putting a band together, doing it live and everything. And you know, he stated he was trying to, you know, get back to the original era. But I don't know how you do that with you know, a musician type studio band. I just don't know how you do that, even if you got anybody else around, because you know, that first couple albums, all the albums with David Lee Roth was good, but them first couple albums, you know, the best. I mean, you're not going to do anything else to try to make them better, or even with today's technology. You know, you upgrade it from analog, right? Of course, remaster them, but you know, anything else, you're not going to do anything any different. You're not going to make it any better, in my opinion. So, you know, and you know, that's what he said he was trying to do, bring the today's tools to make it better, which not going to happen, in my opinion. But we wonder why he was doing it. You know, was he going to tour? Was he going out? What was he going to do? And he really never stated that either. Nothing about him going out, you know, on a solo tour or anything. Nothing about the tribute, VA's tribute, or anything like that. So just a little bit of news there with David. You know, he don't make the rounds too often, but you have a little bit there. And, you know, and further on in Van Halen news, Sammy Hagar's in there. Talking a little bit about entrepreneurship, you know, talking about his spirits business and things, you know, and talking about his pal, you know, his best friend, Michael Anthony. You know, he was stating, you know, coming up, said, you know, from the, you know, they're great music partners, you know, best buddies and that. He said he'd never start an outside of the music business with Michael Anthony. He said it's just, you know, they got a great relationship, you know. He said you get in the business, you got to be ruthless. There's ruthless people out there. We all know that. Be successful, you gotta hurt some feelings, you know, step on some people. And he said he don't want to bring that forward. He said he advertises his business because, you know, Mikey has you know, the hot sauce business, and of course Sammy again on the spirit side. But he talked about that, you know, his friendship in Van Halen with Mike. He said they go back, they connected, you know, and outside of the music, their ventures, fast cars, whatever it might be that they was into. And he said Eddie was kind of jealous of that, you know. But I mean, just a little news there about it, you know. Hagar and them, they just got done touring the Circle this past month, 6 weeks ago. It ended, and then they of course had the birthday bash with several shows there in Mexico. But just a little bit of information there on that news. I mean, Sammy, he's coming out about every week, you know, talking news from whatever it be. It was with Michael Anthony. Moving on for that, we're talking about Wolfgang. You know, Wolfgang, he's touring over in Europe, opening up for Hellstorm. So having a good time. But you know, he just talked about, you know, he's almost has his new album done, and you know, on Wolfie, He had he did his first album, and it was all of him playing all the instruments. Again, on this second album, it's going to be that it's just going to be him. And he offered, that it's nothing, it's for him. That's just how he likes doing it. A lot of people say, the critics say, hey, he's just doing it because he don't have to pay anybody. He said, but that's not the case. He says it's just him in the studio. He can create it. He likes it better that way. He's more comfortable. And let's face it, the kid's talented too, right? To play every instrument on there to make that album. But and also, he talked about his touring band. He says it makes it different. He's in the studio making this music, and then when he has his touring band, they bring it to life. So there's two different avenues on that for him, and that keeps him on his toes, keeps him driving on the music side. So kind of cool, he's not the only one that's ever done that. One that sticks out is 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor. He does that too. He goes in and makes all of the music and then has a touring band. So it's nothing new, but it's just their take on it. That's what they want to do there. But going back and moving away a little bit, we're going back to the 80s here and talking about some music that's in the news today. It's a band, Tora. They're coming out, announcing a tour. But Tora was a big band in the 80s. Sunset Strip, really liked them. They had some hits. Tora, they actually got the name from Van Halen's Women and Children first album. They had a song on there, Tora. And they heard that, took that name and ran with it, which was pretty cool. But hey, they was a big band. They had some hits. Walking Shoes, one of their biggest hits. It's just a bluesy type song with some powerful vocals, back in the 80s. Walking Shoes, Guilty, Phantom Rider, Faith Healer, Dead Man's Hand, and a bunch of good songs there going. I tell you, Tora, they was really, really good up and down that Sunset Strip type of music that was going on out there in LA at that time. They, you talk about some of the vocal performances on here. There was nobody better at that time. I did a episode before XYZ and some of them. Kicks was at that time, but these guys they stood up there and really came out and performed really well to get a record deal. But the reason why I'm talking about them today, and you can go back and listen to some Tora, especially at Walking Shoes, but they are having they're touring. They announced a couple tour dates, April 29th and 30th. Monsters of Rock cruise, and down in New Orleans are doing a festival down there, and with more dates coming. So kind of like to see them. I haven't seen them, and if they make it around this Midwest, I we're definitely going to go to that again. And sticking with the 80s here, we're going to go and talk about a band named Vane. Vane was a group back in the 80s too. Sunset Strip had some great hits. This guy here, who leads to Davey Vane, he went on after Vane. Vane's still touring today, but he's got some dates coming up. But some of their songs, Who's Watching You, promo, that was one of their big ones. What he done back and then, he wasn't as big as the other ones, but he was really big behind the scenes. He had some great records at that time too. He had 3 or 4 of them, but he was behind the scene. He engineers on some of the biggest pop stars going, and he did Christina Aguilera's Stripped album. He was second engineer on that, and he went around. After Adler was kicked out of Guns N' Roses, he had him for a short time until he got kicked out of the band too. But just really a good 80s band. Kind of went into the 90s too. They just just wanted to throw that out there because they announced some 2023 tour dates coming up. And if you're out there and you see it, or go listen to some of the Vane's music, it's been really good. One of them bands that got lost, you don't hear much about, and that's what I like in them. I like these old bands that really, didn't have a name back in, but they was big in the Sunset Strip. So, hey, this will be that episode for Metalhead Nation Garage. We'll see you next time.